have on the side.
All right, go ahead and call this meeting to order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Arnold.
Here.
Alderman Bass.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Okay. Before we move on to invocation, I just wanted to say that our thoughts and prayers are with CJC and the family of Adam Williams, who tragically, lost his life this past weekend. So we want to make sure we acknowledge that, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. So, next up then will be invocation led by Daryl Jones from Crossroads Church, followed by a pledge of allegiance from Alderman Bass.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of our souls. We are blessed to breathe the breath of life, to live in a free community, to live in a community where citizens have opportunity to speak, to serve as aldermen and as mayor, and we're just grateful for that. Grateful for the system that we have in place. We're grateful for our city staff and the hard work that they do on our behalf. And so I just pray over the proceedings tonight. I pray over decisions. Not every decision is unanimous, and discussion has to happen. And again, God, I just pray that wisdom and maturity and discernment prevails on behalf of the community, and not on behalf of our own egos and our own pride, having our own way and our own control. We do, as the mayor indicated, we do pray for the Williams family and just for CJC in general in this loss of this young man's life. And we just pray that out of tragedy, God, you would bring fruit, and that you would touch lives, and you bring healing. We just ask all this in the name of Jesus.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mayor.
Seeing no proclamations, move on to public comment. We ask the citizens come forward to the podium and microphone, and make sure you have signed in with your name and address for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? All right. Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move that we accept this consent agenda.
Motion from Alderman Skinner to accept the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Knox. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Seeing no previous business, new business, or presentations, move on to public hearings. We have a public hearing for Chapter 400 Zoning Regulation Amendments, amending Title 4 Land Use of the Code of Ordinances, whereby a portion of Section 400.230 pertaining to home occupations is repealed, and new Section 400.520 for home occupations is established.
Mayor and members of the board, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trozen to go over this item.
Thank you. So the public hearing tonight pertains to Chapter 400 other zoning regulations regarding Section 400.230 pertaining to home occupations, and replacing it with a section to be titled No Impact Home-Based Business and a new Section 400.520 titled Home Occupations. The Missouri General Assembly has passed and Governor Parsons has signed House Bill 1662, which made sweeping changes to the ability of Missouri cities to regulate and control home business occupations. Under provisions of House Bill 1662, the city is now prohibited from limiting the hours of operations for any home-based business, prohibiting or requiring any structure modifications as a condition of operating a home-based business, prohibitive services by appointment within the home-based business, prohibiting in particular occupation as a home-based business, prohibiting the storage or use of equipment that does not cause effects outside of the home or an accessory building. Also, under the provisions of House Bill 1662, if a business qualifies as a no-impact home-based business, the city is further prohibited from limiting the number of employees or customers in the business at any time except to the extent of the fire codes, or requiring that the business activities occur only within the residence, although the city may prohibit activities that can be viewed from the street, or requiring that the business obtain any zoning permit, home occupation permit, or other license other than a business license. The Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on October 12th, 2022, and approved Resolution 2022-07, recommending approval to the Board of Aldermen. Public notice of this public hearing was given in the Examiner on October 29th, 2022. In summary, this proposed amendment to the Planning and Zoning, or to the Board of Aldermen, and changes to the zoning regulation just basically brings us in compliance to state statutes.
Anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. As this is a public hearing, I'll open it up for comments for or against. Is there anyone who wishes to address this item? Okay, seeing none, close the public hearings. Next item is resolutions. Seeing none, we'll move on to ordinances.
Bill number B22-29 is an ordinance amending Title IV, Land Use of the Municipal Code of Ordinances in Section 400.460, Downtown Overlay District, pertaining to parking regulations.
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B22-29 and approve it as ordinance number 2401.
Okay, a motion from Alderman Skinner to approve Bill B 22-29 for its second reading, make an ordinance 2404.
2401.
You're one. I want to jump ahead. I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Knox. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Bass,
Yes.
Alderman Arnold.
Yes.
The next one is a second reading of Bill number B22-30. This is an ordinance calling an election in the city of Green Valley, Missouri on April 4th, 2023.
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of Bill 22-30 and make it ordinance 2402.
I have a motion from Alderman Arnold to approve Bill B 22-30 for its second reading, making an ordinance 2402. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's be roll call.
Alderman Arnold,
Yes.
Alderman Bass,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner.
Yes.
The next one is a first read of Bill number B22-31. This is an ordinance amending Title IV, Land Use of the Municipal Code of Ordinances in Section 400.230, Accessory Uses, pertaining to home occupations and other sections that may be impacted by these amendments.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 22-31 and bring it back for its second reading by title only at our next regular session.
Okay. I have a motion from Alderman Bass to approve Bill B 22-31, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
I second.
Alderman Skinner. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is the coinciding ordinance to the public hearing that we just had.
Any questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
The next is the first reading of Bill number B22-32. This is an ordinance granting an easement across the city of Green Valley property for a sewer main installation to Consolidated Library District Number 3, DBA Mid-Continent Public Library.
Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 22-32 and bring it back for a second reading by title only at our next regular session.
I have a motion from Alderman Cleaver to accept Bill B 22-32 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Mills. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, as part of the Mid-Continent Public Library project that is ongoing down there, they do need to connect into the sanitary sewer. And part of that is running a new sewer line along Buckner-Tarsney, and it will cross areas of city property, so this would be granting that easement. So they are able to do that. This was all known and planned ahead of time, and kind of coincides with our water line that we have running along there. This is just kind of the paperwork side of making sure that that's everything's in line for that.
Okay. Do you have any questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
The next is the first read of Bill number B 22-33. This is an ordinance approving the 2023 fiscal year budget and comprehensive fee schedule of the City of Green Valley, Missouri.
Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 22-33 for its first read, bring it back by title only at our next regular scheduled meeting.
I have a motion from Alderman Knox to approve Bill B 22-33 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, that's Alderman Bass. Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, as you recall, on October 5th, we went through a workshop session for the 2023 year budget. Kind of went over the capital items, the personnel side of things. From that, there weren't really a whole lot of follow-up items. And we haven't had any questions since then, but one of the things that I wanted to do was go through, I said, as we go on, there's always a few things that change. Either projects are delayed and we need to move those into the next year, or we get a little more zeroed in on the dollar amounts for something. So the changes would be the water line that I just mentioned along Buckner-Tarsney. That's not going to be completed this year. So the majority of that is being shifted to 2023 when that will actually be completed. Our sewer rates did go up from what we were paying with two Blue Springs. That was $60,000. Doesn't have any big impact on the fund, but that was a change. A skid steer trailer was being moved to next year, a little over $8,000. Like everything else, it seems like in life, we're finding delays now with water meters. What was it? 8 months was what we were told now. So we're shifting around $43,000 over into next year's budget that we thought we were expending this year. And I should back up on that. These were all things that we thought we're going to expend this year that were in the budget and were approved. So that will then be a fund balance transfer into next year. So it's not like we're adding on more expenses without having the revenue side of it to pay for that. And then the other thing in the workshop, as far as personnel goes, we had talked about bringing the salary scale up 5% and then still having a merit component to that. We referenced 2% at that workshop. What you have in the budget before you is actually 2.5%. I talked to Mayor, and when we go to 2.5%, that would coincide with our current agreement with the FOP on the police side. So trying to keep that balance there. So basically at the end of the day, that would mean that the employees have up to 7.5% based on the salary scale increase and the merit side of it for 2023. But those were the changes that we made since the workshop. Be happy to answer any other questions that you have.
Have any questions or comments?
Just one on that water line, out of place, but that line sits quite a bit back off the road, probably doesn't meet NFPA as to access for the fire service. Are we gonna move that line closer to the highway? Or are we looking into that? Meeting the fire codes for how close those hydrants are supposed to be to the road?
To the Buckner-Tarsney?
Yes.
I guess I'll need to double check on that in regards to.
Yeah, I'll say we can get with Dick. I don't know. I mean, the line we're putting in doesn't exist right now. We're
Right.
adding to that and going up. But I.
Will be on that line.
Right.
placed in accordance to code. So.
I just know where the ones currently are at. They're a long ways off the road and I don't think would meet NFPA requirements for proximity to the street and easy access for the fire department. I know we've put in hydrants in the past on my road where I live on Ryan, that the hydrants are a little too far off the road and they are also blocked by a fence that's required by the deal, which is nothing's supposed to hinder the fire department's free access to those hydrants. And so I just, as we move forward, I want to make sure that we're staying in line with what's required, so we're not adding to the situation.
Sure. We'll definitely check into that. I know the right-of-way was taken into consideration as well as other easements along there when that water line was placed in there, but we'll definitely take a look at that and follow back up with you.
Right, that's it.
Yeah,
You may
definitely.
be done, but it's like, it's better to ask the question and have you check than to not ask and then later find out we have an issue. So,
You bet.
that's all.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That's it for ordinances. Next up, city attorney's reports.
Good evening, everyone. As all may be aware, the voters of the state of Missouri voted to approve recreational marijuana. We're currently working with Logan to provide some additional information to her in the form of an ordinance that could be considered. Additionally, some of you may be aware, we did change offices. We're now located a little bit closer on 4031 Northeast Lakewood Way in Lee Summit, just off of 470. So a little bit closer to you guys, but that's all I got to add.
Thank you. Next up, city administrator and staff reports.
We'll start with Ms. Ozenbaugh.
Just a quick reminder that we are having our downtown kickoff tomorrow from 6 to 8 at the Historical Society. So spread the word if you haven't and come if you can.
And Mr. Trozen.
So if you haven't heard, we might have a weather event over the evening tonight and into tomorrow morning. And just to let you know, our Public Works team has been out this afternoon doing some pre-treatment using calcium chloride on some heavily traveled streets and areas that typically are slick, as far as bridges, hills. And so we've done some precautionary pre-treatment in those areas. Our on-call person for Public Works will be monitoring the weather. If we find that we'll have a need to call in folks, we will call folks in. But that at this time, we're just going to kind of monitor what the weather conditions are. Because if you've been monitoring the weather, everything seems to be, at right at freezing temperatures or above. So it's going to be more, less precipitation that we're looking at versus snow at this point. But if we see it's more snow, we'll definitely be calling folks in and addressing the weather as it progresses. Just wanted to give you that update.
We did have a few things. One, I had mentioned the Mid-Continent Public Library in their new location. We did have the ribbon cutting or the groundbreaking ceremony for that last week. So Alderman Mills and Alderman Arnold were able to attend that. I would say that's probably the most the city of Green Valley has ever been named, and all of the different speakers that came up. Obviously gracious that we could have a partnership there that's allowing them to build a new branch for the community. On January 11th, we'll send this out in an email later, but we are trying to have a joint meeting. We're trying to have a joint meeting with the Board of Aldermen, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Park Board. So we're hoping that the majority of people can maybe be there for that. We'll send that out. That's a Wednesday night at 6:30, I believe. But the idea, the comp plan and the Parks Plan consultant team that we have wanted to try to get everybody together on kind of the front end of it and work through things. We're having some planning difficulties or finding the right meeting time, I should say, for some of us. But we'll send that email out. Hopefully it works for most. If not, we'll figure something out. But look for that email coming up. Speaking of meetings, kind of working backwards here, I guess, the December 26th meeting, otherwise known as the day after Christmas and a holiday for city employees. We would need to cancel that meeting. I don't see a need to reschedule that. I think everything that we have between now and the end of the year will be taken care of. So I don't think there is a need to reschedule that. And then another thing, we were sent a letter from the Surface Transportation Board in reference to the sale of the railroad. As you know, Kansas City Southern was sold to another company. So we got a multi-page letter from them asking for comments that had to do with projects coming up. So the good news is basically they are talking about adding siding, which essentially like another lane for trains, starting about where the racetrack is and kind of winding around Monkey Mountain, which would be good to as far as crossing. The downside is in the schedule that they sent, it looked like there could be an additional 8 trains a day. So part of the letter that our city engineer put together and we have since mailed back out to them was basically asking for that to be looked at and solutions to that. So what's already a problem doesn't get worse. So I'll let you know how that goes, but did just want to make you aware that we did receive that. And they are planning for multiple projects around the area, but that one directly will influence our daily lives. So we'll keep you posted on that. But I thought he did, Mr. Tuttle, our city engineer, did a good job of going through that. It's kind of been a passion of his, I guess. I don't know, an interest, the trains. So he was more than happy to jump in and put that together. And that is it for staff comments.
All right. Next up, Board of Alderman reports and comments. Alderman Arnold.
The library groundbreaking was a very nice event there. I want to commend Alderman Mills for his speaking on the mayor's part there. He did a good job. Proud. I'll tell him publicly that was well received, and I appreciated his presence there and how he conducted himself during that process. If very many of us attend the town meeting, well, we need to post that as a meeting. There's more than, I plan on going. I don't know how many others plan on going.
I hadn't heard from anybody, so I wasn't really sure.
I plan on being there.
Just to keep us.
We don't have time at this point, though, do we?
You're less than 24 hours.
An hour.
You have to have more than 3? You considered a meeting?
Well, who's all
4 or more.
Who was all planning on being there? You plan on being there?
Yeah, I was planning on it, but
You don't want me to.
Talking.
I was not. I was not planning on being there.
I was gonna be there because that's more. I mean, as long,
If you're doing that and not discussing city business, then you don't need to post notice for it.
as long as they're at separate tables.
So
As long as everyone's separated at separate tables, is that?
Tony was saying that, well, you could speak to it, but the difference is really the discussion, city business versus this is about the downtown district itself and not making decisions and talking about city business.
Correct. That's
So
the
it
case,
is-
then you would need to post notice.
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's that Missouri Main Street program, which is a separate entity, will have its own bylaws and all of that. Yeah, the city was a sponsor of that to get it started, and the way it's supposed to be set up is there's gonna be 4 tables set up and it will go like group to group, I guess. And maybe that could be the other side of it, that we make sure that if there's 4 of you there, that you're at the separate tables too. You're not all 4 at a table.
It'd be a bad idea just to be safe.
I just didn't want us to not overlook that.
Good point.
how many of these meetings are there gonna be?
That's the only thing that's scheduled at this point for the open house part or the town hall. It's kind of just the kickoff for that group. So it's being facilitated by the Missouri Main Street group, and there's 4 volunteers one that will each at the tables that will be facilitating it. Not city staff. It'll be other people involved with the group.
That's all I have.
Okay. Alderman Mills,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Bass,
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Skinner.
Just, Ken, do we have any follow-up on any update on the Duncan Tire Road truck turning around situation?
Have they gotten anything up?
I haven't, if you haven't seen any street signs up yet.
I didn't
The
notice
last
any this
communication I had was that my contact with City of Blue Springs was they were working with the Public Works Department. They were asking for locates from utilities so that they could post some signs, to try and direct folks to avoid using the tire road, and direct them to the drive off of Jefferson Street. So,
Yeah, and for those of you if you don't know what the bigger issues we've had, 3 I think trucks now, tractor trailers that have come down Duncan Road and then they're trying to turn south on Tire, and they can't make the turn, so they're getting stuck. And then a tow truck is having to come. The road shut down for a while. Kind of what we've found is that it sounds like it's a mapping issue when the truck drivers are putting in the route to go there for whatever reason, instead of having them turn off of Adams Dairy onto Jefferson, which is where the entrance to Pepsi is. It has them going up to Duncan all the way down to Tire, which there's not an entrance to Pepsi off of Tire. And then I guess they have to make that next turn. If they made it through there, they have to make the next turn, then off Tire onto Jefferson again. We actually found a staff member found a lot of Google reviews about multiple Pepsi things that just haven't been going well, but it does sound like it's a mapping thing. We made Blue Springs aware of it. It's not a city road at that point, so that's the one part that a little bit hand-tied, but it sounds like they're willing to put up the signs. And maybe the word's gotten out a little bit. They were also supposed to reach out to a contact with Pepsi.
right.
It hasn't seen, I don't know if you've seen any, I haven't seen any lately, so maybe that's kind of working itself out, but signage was going to be the way they were going to try to handle that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why it would not tell them to turn on Jefferson right there. I mean, that's where the road improvements were made for. And actually, Mark and staff, that was one of the big things, because the Pepsi plate, it's not in Grain Valley. It was what happens to Tire Road there, making sure that the traffic didn't get on that road. So kind of working out opposite of how we had planned.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely been, since I've been on the board, probably the most emails and Facebook social media messages I've had. So people were pretty upset in Rosewood and Woodbury. So and then the last one, I think our police department was the one responsible for shutting down the road, so it was become a burden on the city. So I appreciate you. A sign at least, right? that would be great. Appreciate it.
I got a response from Jeannie Lauer on that as well from the county, and said she was going to turn it over to the county crews to see look at what they could do in that. So maybe they'll coordinate with Blue Springs and us to get whatever needed to be done there.
Good deal.
Alderman Knox,
I have nothing.
on the favor.
I just wanted to say congratulations to the Grand Valley High School football team for conference champs and on to more games. So congratulations to the high school football team. That's all I have.
Mayor's report, I don't have anything to add this evening, and I don't believe we have a need for an executive session, correct? All right. So unless anyone has anything else for regular session, we will adjourn.